Okay, we're back.
Damn.
I've been recording this whole thing.
Okay, that's
I'll put
great.
the whole thing up when we're
Perfect. I was wondering. I wasn't gonna like lambast or nag you about it, but I'm like, oh fuck. I hope he recorded.
Right.
You know
Real
what?
quick,
This is one of those
Sorry, go
weird
ahead.
growing pains where I foolishly allow the system to do some update, and then assuming that everything is normal because 95% of the time
Right.
system updates, they come out and everything's fine. But today, of all days, of course. Yeah, well, my
It
bad,
makes sense
guys.
though that I would. No, it's
I
all
will
good.
fix this. I'll fix this in post.
Oh, great.
So let me tell you real quick. So people they get confused, like and the reason people are confused because they're ignorant. No one like reads books or watches historical docs. So people always want like, why do you call these people Nazis? Nazis they killed Jews and blah 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 over there, right? And I was like, wait, you must think that's all Nazis did. They just did this one bad thing, right? Like, no, Nazis did a whole bunch of different bad things that all came under the whole white nationalism type of thing, right? So for me, giving back to the whole war, right? There's a line in the sand. You have the racist versus anti-racist. You can be at the fence. I am fine. But if you are on top, if you're sitting on the line or even on the fence on the other side, you are not, you can be not, whatever you want to call it, Nazi, MAGA, Klansman, Proud Boy, whatever, all of it is the same. And the reason I say that is because I had someone come to me. It was like, yo, like, you call these people Nazis, but like, there's a difference between white nationalism and white supremacy. I'm like, hey, you can go and dissect why all you, to me, it's all the same shit. It don't matter if you a Nazi or you. I know Nazis may not like Klansmen, right? But their ideology is literally the same thing. So for me, and the reason I say because white people, being that they like to gentrify oppression, they like to gentrify race. Oh, so the whole thing now is like they call black people racist. So for me, I had to figure out a way that wouldn't get me banned because I got banned on Instagram. I had to start a new page. But so I had to figure out a way to not get banned, but also not get lost in the sauce. So if a white, like Jay Shields says, oh, Mike Jackson's racist, if I just come back with, well, Jake, you're racist. Like, they don't really do nothing. But if Jake calls me racist, I come back and call him a Nazi or a Grand Wizard or a Klansman, that's going to stick a little more. And that's now they're trying to call me a Nazi too, which is like fine. Like if that's what y'all want to do, fine. But so to the point of why I'm calling them Nazis. One, I told you our lunch, they're all the same thing. But I realized that it's so triggering to remember I said my main focus in life is to antagonize. I antagonize Jake Shields so you know how all this started? Let me ask you real quick. You know how it all started?
I don't, honestly. I just saw at the fallout.
So it started, you mentioned it earlier. It started with the Cardi B tweet.
See, that's I had no idea it started with the Cardi. That's funny. I had no idea.
So I saw the Cardi, I was in San Antonio too. I saw a Cardi B tweet, or maybe someone had sent it to me or whatever. And I saw Cardi's response because Cardi responded to him.
She flamed him.
She flamed him. So I saw the flaming, and then I went and I tweeted Jake, and I was like, I said something like, "Yo, like why are you in your white fragility? Like, why are you bothering these people?" Something like it was something mild like that. And he went on. He was like, "Oh, I want to fight you," and blah. And I was like, "Fine, but can we talk about why you're a Nazi? Like, can we talk about that?" And he lost it. So to the point, I called this person a Nazi, and he lost his shit to the point where he acted like a Nazi in person. So this is why it's weird, and to the point of why I call them Nazis. These people know Nazis are bad. They know the name, the label of being a Nazi is bad, but they have the ideologies of a Nazi. So they don't want to be called, even though they think like Nazis, they don't want to be called a Nazi. So if you call them a Nazi, they act like Nazis. Because to the point, right? If you weren't a Nazi, Jake, when you saw me, you would be like, "Oh, it's that piece of shit, Mike Jackson. Fuck you, Mike Jackson," and go do whatever it is you were going to the PI to do. You would have said some mean shit back to me because all I did was say some mean shit to him, and you would go back and do what you. But no, the Nazi, when he saw me, acted like a Nazi. Therefore, you're a Nazi. Like, I don't get that. Like, it's really weird. How these people think, dude. I love it though.
Yeah, and I think that's where knowing as a black man when you're in a position, especially in a public place when people are around, if somebody comes and antagonizes you, you can't get violent even if they've already sort of thrown the first punch because they're going to lie. And if you don't have a camera, they're going to win. So knowing that is why I assumed you didn't fight Jake Shields. So when I see Mike Bisping like come out and say some shit, I'm like, get your British ass out of our business for, you know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Not to say that Mike Bisping doesn't have the right, but he has no fucking idea what it's like to be a black person. So for him to assume that it was just some innocuous, like, oh, they had a fight and a tussle and Jake Shields won. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here, Mike Bisping. And I'm calling you out specifically because I know that type of person just feels entitled to make commentary about shit that they know nothing about. Right. So if Mike Bisping ever hears this, I want you to take some time and learn about shit before you say anything. Just do that in the future, because getting clicks isn't worth looking like a fucking idiot. I had to stop listening to Mike Bisping because he's too interested in clicks and doesn't think about shit before he says it. Because that's where I'm like, I used to like Mike Bisping after not liking him when he was the Count back on
right.
Fighter. I've been watching since Hoist Gracie. You know what I'm saying? I've been watching because I started training a long time ago. So I've seen martial arts. And on the note, there's going to be people who say it's not rooted in white supremacy. And the issue is martial arts in America is 100% rooted in colonialism because it's the soldiers who brought it back. So anybody who's going to say that's not right, you don't know fucking shit. So let's get that out of the way. And then in terms of the white nationalist audience, I think we have come to a point where people have co-opted our language, and you called it out earlier, but there's this gentrification of oppression happening, and we have to stay ahead of the double think and newspeak in terms of how now you're racist somehow. And I've watched it, and the issue is the reason I don't jump in is because if I jump in, they call you weak. I know their playbook. And it's like, I know for a fact, even if it's a matter of if I come and comment on your thread, now all of a sudden, oh, they're weak black men, they need to gang up. And it's like, that's what you guys were doing, but you'll use that against us. So I already know that I can't do that particular
thing. It doesn't even bother me, like even a little bit. Here's why. Given that I understand the nature of the industry, I know that a lot of people aren't going to jeopardize their social standings or whatever, right? To the point where even the day that all this shit, the morning all this shit happened, like let's say an hour before, right? I remember sitting down in the lobby and I was drinking a coffee, and a guy who worked, I don't think many people know him. He's an integral part. He's like a cameraman, but I want to say he's Hispanic. Anyway, I know him just because I've been backstage. He's in Dana White's blogs and stuff. And he walks in front of me, and when I see him, I recognize him, but I don't. A lot of sometimes I don't know if they just know me just for Mike Jack. I don't know how they know, so I don't say anything. So he goes to get some coffee, and then as he's done, he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, what's up, Mike?" And my first I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, he knows me to the point of talking to me. But then he was like, "Hey, I fucks with you. I like that shit that you do." And in the moment, I thought he was talking particularly about my photography because he's a photographer, videographer himself. But he was like, nah, he said, keep fucking with them racists. And he walks off and he just skirts off. And I was like, oh, that's the shit that he's talking about. But then again, even at a local level, like the shit is so ingrained in even in Houston MMA. I got some wild shit going. I can't really talk about it because I can't give up the sauce yet. But I got some white nationalists in Houston. I'm about to fuck some shit up out here. Like I gotta tell you what my plan is about these guys. But he said, and he walks off, right? But then even I got fighters, whether they're black or whatever, they come to me backstage. My dog, like I really fucks with you. I get people in the DMs, but on the surface, it's none of that. But again, like because of who I am in the like, I'm not someone who's trying to like fight up the rankings, or I was not someone who's trying to be a champion. I'm just fucking around. I've always been doing this for the shits and giggles, literally from day one. And so because I'm doing it for that, like these people, like they can't hurt me. And I'm so and to the point where I'm so ingrained in the culture, I honestly feel I could be talking on my ass here, but I don't feel there's anything anybody can do to get me out of MMA at any level, because I'm so ingrained in this shit. Like I'm so intertwined that if people try to get me out, it's literally going to hurt people above me. Like that's how ingrained I am.
I
right?
think so.
I don't give a fuck.
Do you remember when the UFC tried to ban Ariel from coming to events and how that actually ended up hurting them? Yeah. I think the same thing would happen to them, and which is 100%. Why they were quiet about releasing you, because they knew it was coming up. They had to do it during January, because if they did that shit during Black History Month, it would be some fucking outrage. So that's where I'm like, they definitely know that they can't come out against you publicly at this point.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do agree with that. And it has to be strategic though. But even in the release, like first of all, I always knew what it was. I knew why I was there. So the release, that when people say, "Oh, you got fired," no, I didn't. Like I fulfilled what I was there to do. I was there to beat the shit out of CM Punk.
And anything after that was extra, is what it looks like to me.
Literally everything was extra.
As somebody who's watched MMA for a long time, that's exactly how it looked. And I'm glad you said it before I asked, because I was gonna ask you that specific question, but that's exactly how it looked from somebody who knows how contracts and like careers work. It looked like
exactly
this dude who like, I don't know, like that's also why I wanted to get your history of martial arts, because I'm like, I don't know when I did at the beginning, I didn't know when you started, but I'm like, I don't know if this was meant to be something that he was into for his entire life and planned to be into forever.
Right.
When he came in, because that's not necessarily how it looked, but to hear it from your mouth, now I know for sure. So
right, no. It was all for the shits and giggles. It was all like I was just hanging like, so even to tell you how before the call came. So for me, I had already started doing pro boxing, pro kickboxing. I was going to venture down that road. I had been training, like even now, this has been the longest I consider this a vacation. So I had to fight in October. I had the reason I'm doing I call it because I had surgery right after the fight. And it was like, yo, like you got to sit out for like 6 months. I was like, well, fuck it. I've literally been training my entire life. I need this break, right? So that to the point I had to like sit myself down. But before then, I had an injury. I was taking some time off, and my mind was like, all right, because I'm primarily covering like MMA, I want to have like one MMA fight a year. That was my mindset, right? I was like, I'm gonna go fuck around and do the boxing, kickboxing thing, but because I'm covering the sport, let's do one a year, right? So that was my mindset. Fast forward, like let's say a month. Then the whole UFC thing starts. And it's like, wait, I get to make my debut in the UFC? Like, come on, like, these are things that, to the point I said, just good shit happens sometimes for me. Right place, right time. And that opportunity came. And so it kind of changed it changed the narrative in my mind. Just like, this is going to be a completely different platform for me to use my shit. That's literally all it's been for me. And people oh, you wasted opportunity. But first of all, no one can tell me what I've wasted, nor they can tell me what I deserve. All these people, oh, you don't deserve to be there. Who the fuck are you? Like, you some dude who's literally watching me be there. Like, why am I supposed to care about your trivial opinion? It don't matter. Like, and that's what, and they get mad when I tell them that, because over the pandemic, I came up with these theories that I've come up with that are essentially like how I come up with these ideas. One, no one sees himself as the bad guy. That's the first one. And two, no one sees himself as wrong until they're proven otherwise. So whatever your like logic and ideology is, whether you learn it through growing up or experience, whatever, you feel you are right. And this is the right way to do it until someone proves you otherwise. But the thing to that is you have to be willing to be proven otherwise. If you have this idea and you just like, I'm going to down this hill, then you're going to down the hill. To the point, Ashley Babbitt died on her hill, right? I love bringing her up because people like asking me about her. And here's what I say. Up until that moment, Ashley Babbitt was a piece of shit person, right? And that bullet cut off the timeline. But let's say that she didn't die that day. She would have left the Capitol, still a piece of shit in that moment. But I felt Ashley Babbitt could have potentially turned her life around and become a better person if she wouldn't have died that day. Because it wasn't like she wasn't Donald Trump, she wasn't Mike Pence, she wasn't someone empowered fucking people over. And that's the difference. It's like, what have you? Are your actions redeemable? So until that moment, her actions, I felt, from my perspective, are redeemable. Everybody, whoever went to the Capitol, all of these people, they're as long as you wasn't killing nobody, whatever. If you just stormed the Capitol and you was on some MAGA shit, fine. You're an asshole and piece of shit in that moment. But let's fast forward 5 years. I was not even 10, 5 years. 5 years, you realize you did some fucked up shit and it messed your life up. Now, you're still a piece of shit for those actions, but I can't say that you can't do some new shit that'll kind of balance that fuck shit out. I can't say that. But
okay,
I have to give you the opportunity to do that.
What made you come to this realization of that point being something that epiphany point needing to happen for somebody like Ashley Babbitt to become a less shitty person? Because I can remember I was never necessarily a shitty person, but the thing you described, I can remember exactly when I experienced it. I can describe it as if there was like a 5-foot radius bubble around me that I thought I was the center of. And suddenly that bubble popped and I realized there was like an entire world that I was not the center of. And the thing that made me realize that was that there were, we had a presentation in, I think it was 6th grade, about child labor in Nike and how they were still using child labor to make the shoes. And it was like that realization. I was like, oh my fuck, I am wearing shoes that were made by children. It was like, I can literally remember sitting in the chair and like that bubble bursting. And that, again, it was like, I started to recognize my casual consumption that led to somebody else receiving harm. And that happened in like 6th grade. Clearly it happened for you at some point. Like, what was it that made you come to that realization?
Man, I couldn't even tell you. So here just to tell you how I live, right? Because the foundation of how I live life is context matters, and the reason I say that because that matters. Context is a part of literally everything that we do. Given if you kill somebody, there's murder, and then there's manslaughter, and then there's variables. Like it's the same action. That person I killed that person. But context matters. Why did I kill that person? And so growing up, I always knew there's gonna be variables to share, right? Even let's give it to like just wars and the American thing, right? So we all know America's a piece of shit country because they do some fuck shit. right? But my interpretation on that is, why was the fuck shit done? Did this prevent some other crazy thing from happening? And then there's levels to the point that there's levels of racism. Like, there's levels to give a fuck about things too. I can, to the point of like the Nike, the child labor with the Nikes. There's degrees to that, depending on where you fall in the spectrum. Because for some people, they're gonna look at it like, damn, like I can't support Nike at all, because there's like this, you have this absolute thing about child labor, right? I fully respect that decision that you make. On the flip side, America in itself does some fuck shit with child labor, and then people don't say nothing. They just ignore that. So it's like you have to pick, right? So my ideology is back to like the whole risk to reward or cost to reward type of thing. If I do this action, where's the detriment come from? Who benefits? Like, all of these things play a factor. So back to the whole thing, like, if I kill somebody, did I kill this person for self-defense? Did I kill this person to prevent them from doing something else? Did I just commit because I'm an asshole? All of these things come into play, and it matters. So people are out here making decisions, and they're just saying random shit. A lot of times people are saying random shit with zero. They're just saying it without the context. They're saying, like, to the point, oh, if you kill someone, you're a bad person. And you're like, wait, but you're not going to ask me why? Nah, you did that action, so you did that thing, you're a bad person. I can't. That takes out, well, one, it's an absolute, and then it takes out the opportunity for someone to grow. And that was an important, to the point I think you asked me, whenever it was, I realized people can grow. They're not, like, if you do some shit when you're like 20 years old, you're not the same person at 30. So to the point of Ashley Babbitt, if she wouldn't have died that day, I'm not saying that she couldn't have grown and become a better person. Now, was it likely? Probably not. She's probably going to be a piece of shit for the rest of her life. But that opportunity's still there, and that the opportunity's still there. I don't, I look for that. I kind of ramble on that one, but
no, that's great. That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at that. Like, it's all about growth, though. To the point is, like, I feel I got to the point where I understood context matters about things. So you need to get the, like. So I can't make a give an opinion or have an opinion on something that I don't know the full story. To the point, people have all these opinions about the Jake Shields videos. Like, wait, y'all don't have the whole story. Like, but even that though is so crazy. Like, no one asks, like, wait, how did y'all get on the floor? Like, if y'all talking about, because people was like, wait, y'all at a fight at the PI, y'all can fight in the cage, blah blah blah. Fine, yeah, we can literally, all that can happen, but that's not what happened. We on the floor on the outside of the cage. No one gonna ask, like, why, if we're gonna fight, if we agreed to fight, why did we agree to fight in the octagon that we're literally next to? But we agreed to fight on the floor? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, man. People are, but to the point, all people are trying to do now is win. It's not about being right or wrong. It's only about the win.
I mean,
assholes, though.
Yeah, that's harming a lot of relationships between groups and then individuals. But in that vein, one of the main things I wanted to give you is the capacity to put yourself and your situation in context with this whole call. Because that's where I'm like, I don't want to decide where we go with the discussion, because one of the things about this show when we bring on guests is allowing them to define themselves and give their own context. And I don't feel like even after knowing that the Wikipedia page was like, I don't know how many lies, one of the things that immediately stuck out to me, which pushed me in this direction, is your Wikipedia page frames your career in the context of Mick Maynard. So this is supposed to be a page about Mike Jackson. Yeah. But it's like Mick Maynard is the one who got you into mixed martial arts. And I'm like, this is weird because first off, I'm looking at it like I came here for information about Mike Jackson. So why am I getting fucking Mick Maynard? And then knowing that you didn't really probably have anything to do with that, it is like somebody's trying to make me feel a certain type of way about Mike Jackson before he gets the chance to tell me about himself. And that was like one of the main things driving, like, I didn't want to have too many questions because I wanted to allow you, like I said, to give yourself and your life and your martial arts career and your pro-black, all that context. And it sounds like, for the next question, in your life, how much power do you feel like you've had over your identity in terms of what you define, how you define yourself, and how many things have been defined by society, and then you have to work within that framework?
I tell people, man, I'm an anomaly in life. I've been fortunate enough to shape my own identity in this space. Now, again, given that this is a war, you're gonna have the opposition. There's gonna be propaganda. There's gonna be the lies. But for me, the reason that doesn't matter is because the framework that I'm in is a subculture of society. MMA, right? This isn't, it's not a mainstream industry. Like if I were in the NBA or NFL or something, like different conversation. But it's MMA. So that's why for me, there hasn't been pushback from this narrative, this, oh, Mike Jackson is anti-white. Fine, I'm anti-white. But then when you dig, if you don't know me, fine, he's anti-white. But then once you engage with me, you're like, oh, wait, no, it's not that at all. So man, dude, I'm telling you, man, I don't think people get this. Like, I lose zero sleep about these people's opinions about me, man. To the point, like, they're in my DMs every day. And then they'll be like, oh, we're living rent-free in your head. And I'm like, wait, I don't think you know what rent-free means. But on the contrary, I'm living rent-free. I have a fucking condo in these dudes' heads to the point, like, one, I have no idea who these people are. And they don't have to do what and I keep telling them this. I'm like, yo, the reason I'm calling y'all a Nazi is because, one, you're here defending a Nazi. Like, you're not just here saying some mean shit on your own. Like, the reason you're here is to defend someone I called a Nazi. Like, why? Like, you don't have to do that, right? Roxanne Modafferi didn't have to do that. Gordon Ryan, Sam Alvey, Matt Brown, etc., Michael Bisbee. All of these people didn't have to do what they did. They could have saw it. Oh, that's fucked up, and kept scrolling. The people who messaged me, they could have saw the shit I said and kept scrolling. But no, they saw the shit I said and they wanted to win. They was like, how can we get this win off Mike? How can I make him feel bad? First of all, y'all can't make me feel bad. But fine, you can try. So they try. They come in and they say, you got knocked out, or you a racist black person. I'd be like, fine. And then I'll say some funny, mean shit to them. And then they do. And this is how much I don't care. Like, when I say there's nothing that's off limits for these people, to the point why, put a pin in that one. To the point I said earlier about the spectrum, if you're on the fence, if you're even at the fence, like you're undecided, man, I don't know what side. If you're on their side, you're going to get this. It doesn't matter if you're at that fence. I'm going to give you the same level of vitriol that I'm going to give fucking Hitler. It's to say, like, because it don't matter what level of support. It don't matter if you support him at a 1 or 100. You support him. Now, if you decide not to support him, come to the other side, right? So that's my logic. So I come back, I look at them, and these people don't mean anything to me. I go to their page. I just get a little info. I get this one dude one day. I cooked the fuck out of him. His wife had just died. Bro, I ate his ass up, dog. He got so mad. Like, he lost it. He fucking, I clowned him, his dead wife, his bastard kids. They all got the ether that day. This dude was in my DM. He lost it. He's stalking me. He's trying to tell me where my kid go to school. He's trying to tell me where I live. And all I can do is laugh at him. I was like, see, you chose to stop here. I don't know you. I didn't ask you to stop in my DMs. And then in my, like, it's not even just like a comment on a thread that passed your feed. You had to take the initiative to click on my page, to click on the messenger button, to type out all this shit, to hit send, and then wait. Fine, wait for this L. And I gave it to him, and he fucking lost it. That's what I'm telling. Like, I don't go around bothering nobody. I'm over here minding my own business. The only people that I bother are people that are in power position at that particular day. Jake Shields in a power position in an MMA sphere. He gonna say some mad anti-black shit about a black woman. No, you can't do that. When I go at politicians, when I go at a Greg Abbott or any of these bozo clowns, this silk with the diamond and silk when that chick died, good for her. Good for her. She needed that. So actually, all these people are in the same boat for me. Like, there is no difference between these people. But for whatever reason, they like to attack me. And the reason they like to attack me is because they know, like, there's a time shift, right? And the shit going back, here's when the shift happened. It happened when Obama got elected. Because I'm in College Station at Texas A&M, and y'all heard recently about the little fucking Nazis who did the little affirmative action bake sale?
What?
All right, so essentially this is the play. And I saw this back in like 2000. When did Obama win? 2008?
2008, I think, right?
Yeah, so I was seeing this shit back in like 2005, 6, 7, right? So here's the play. The Nazis at whatever school, they do a bake sale. It's a affirmative action bake sale. So the idea is, if you are, and they based on race. So if you're white on the affirmative, you pay like the most money. If you are Asian, you pay like, let's say if white people pay for the price of a cookie,
I pulled up the list. Asian males will pay $1.50. Asian females will pay $1.25. White males will pay $1. White females will pay 75 cents. African American males 50 cents. African American females 25 cents. Hispanic males 50 cents. Hispanic females 25 cents. Native American free.
Free, yeah. So right. So they actually changed a little bit. So back when I was,
this was in 2016. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying about, like, let's say 10 years prior.
Why do I have to pay more for a freaking the same damn cookie? Like, objectively.
Affirmative action, bro. So the idea is that, again, context matters, right? So the white people are like, yo, we're white. We gotta like do all this other stuff. And so without context, I fully understand where white people are coming from with their rhetoric, right? But then you say, hey, give me context. The context is that white people have been running shit for forever, and they've been shitting on other people for forever, and the other people are like, hey, can we get a little help here for y'all not shitting on this? And then the white people are like, wait, why y'all mad we shitting on y'all?
Well, they're not done shitting on people.
This is how life has been all our entire lives. And we're like, well, yeah, we know that. We trying to change that. But again, when you've been right the whole time, and then someone says, hey, you're wrong, you take offense to that. You don't ask, hey, why do you think I'm wrong? You just go like, and you're like, wait, come on, can we not have a conversation? And so that's how everything unfolds. It's because white people never want to have a conversation. They're trying to ban books. They're trying to ban literature. They're trying to ban conversations about their fuckery because they know they did some fucked up shit. That's the whole to the point. Like that's always been the play. Like that's why I don't get mad when I see this shit. Cause it's the expectation. Like I'm expect all the things that people are doing, I've expected it. So I don't get mad to the point where I say I saw the shift. I'm seeing the bake sales and everything. I'm seeing Obama win. I remember how life was in Aggie little fucking College Station before Obama won. When Obama won, bro, that's literally been. It was like when I can't remember. It was the Archduke Ferdinand when he got killed and how that started World War One. It's the same. It's literally the same play. I tell people because Archduke got killed because they did what he did. That started the fuckery in American society where the whole capitalism thing and then the Patriot Act, all that kinds of shit that's been going on where the government's been overreaching. It all started when they off friends Archduke Ferdinand back in I don't remember like the 20s. I don't know. That's when all that shit started. But like I said, that's the same thing when Obama got elected. The white people was like, wait, there's a black president? No. And they lost it. And that's to the point. That's how Trump got elected was because white people were mad. Obama got elected. They was like, we can't stand it. And then all this has happened. It's because people have been manipulated to feel that black is bad. Like that's what all this is about. It's the idea that black people are less than. So to the point where we having these arguments and these conversations with the Nazis, right? The reason they don't see themselves as being hypocrites or all of that, to see yourself as a hypocrite, you have to look at the person that you're doing fuck shit to as your equal. If you don't look at us as your equal, there is no hypocrisy. So, like when white people do some fuck shit, right, and then like a black person does the same, like they do some fuck shit, they like, oh no, that wasn't that. And then a black person does the same thing, and then they hound about it. And they be like, wait, buddy did that over there. And they be like, it's not the same thing. The reason it's not the same thing to them is because they're white. That's literally it. That's literally the only thing. And because of that, like that's what we have to fight against. To the point where when they challenge me, I don't get mad at it because I understand it's the play. All these people are doing, man. I watched a Hitler doc. I'm really fascinated with like Nazis and all that. I grew up on that, but the reason I'm so fascinated by it is because I want to know about my enemy. I want to know how my enemy moves and how I can defeat them. So I'm watching this Hitler doc, right? And as I'm watching the Hitler doc, I'm like, wait. The MAGA people did this exact thing. I'm like 15 minutes in. I get an hour in. I'm like, bro, they literally did the Nazi. They took the Nazi playbook and they scratched out fucking Adolf Hitler's name and they just put MAGA. It's the same play.
The issue is the Nazis stole the playbook from Americans, and the Americans stole the playbook from the British. This is and this is where I mean in terms of when you have American oppression of Native Americans and the genocide that they did here, and the Nazis copied it. We only have time to deal with one because then the other gets occluded in terms of we don't even talk about natives anymore. I mean, not us, but Americans they're invisible. Like we have a caste system in here, and we act like we don't. The natives are the invisibles.
Not to downplay what the British did for 400 years. 400 years. That's a long time. But you know, they took the American model and exported it to India because they realized how efficient the American model, the plantation model, was, and they brought it to India. So they took some.
And don't forget China and the opium.
And the opium wars, all this stuff.
This is like we've seen these things happen, and then like one of the things I am learning recently is this theory of intersectionality, and one of the reasons it's difficult to identify this trend and this repeated use is because they isolate us out, and they isolate the movement into India, and they isolate the movement into China, and they isolate the crack in the black community, as if these aren't the same models being used over in different contexts. And we don't see each other's histories. So as a black person, if you don't learn about the Chinese opium wars, and if you don't learn about the East India Company, then it's easy to feel like the black community in the CIA crack epidemic is like an isolated incident. Like I said, they just took the fucking British playbook. So that's
literally it, man. So even that in itself, right? I tell people, it's like, we don't need to be competing to see who has the worst trauma in the world. They did some fucked up shit to us, and they did some fucked up shit to y'all. We don't have to compete who they did the worst fucked up shit to. It's all bad. and to the point, like the whole Jews thing. Like I didn't get the gist of like the whole Jewish thing, because my whole thing is like, yo, y'all are white. Like I get they did some fucked up shit, but y'all are still white. And then I went recently and I watched a piece about it, and I was like, all right, that makes way more sense. To the point that I was like, you know what? They did some fucked up shit over there to them. Like, I can kind of interject and say, hey, man, fuck y'all, Nazis, and then go back to defending my people. Because for me, I only have bandwidth for the shit that I'm doing. I don't have bandwidth for me fighting for my people and for their people, right? And again, it's not a saying y'all don't deserve it. It's just like, I don't have to interject my shit. Yesterday, I'm out around.
Well, real quick, that's another issue of Jews not being able to define themselves in terms of, in America, we think of Ashkenazi Jews when we think of Jewish people, but there's all different kind of Jews, and even Ethiopian Jews. And one of the problems is Israel as a state does not tend to recognize Ethiopian Jews, and then that trickles down. So we identify Jewishness in America with Ashkenazi, which are mostly German white Jews, which are still ethnically Jewish, but part of white supremacy is to lump them in as white people so they get included. This is yet again, we have our definition of Jewishness really flattened in America, and this is not an accident. So it's even things like that, which then allow Kanye to turn around and say some things about a specific type of Jew that we encounter in America that's not all Jews. And then he's only seen that type of Jew and assumes, because he knows nothing outside of his experience. And it's like, it's very difficult. This is also why I wanted to bring you on. In navigating that type of scenario and having to pick your battles, like when do you click send? Like at what point when you're like, okay, if I have to die on this hill, I'm gonna die on this hill. Like, what are the things? Because like I see you speak on black issues. I don't necessarily know of other things. Like at what point?
I speak on black issues. I speak on women's issues. Mainly my whole thing is just, I'm speaking against anything that is considered white supremacy is really what my thing is. And that's where I hang my hat. I don't speak on things I'm not fully aware of, right? So for me, I can anything some anti-black shit, I can 100% speak on that because I'm highly knowledgeable and educated. Like again, not only is this through experiences that I've had, like I went to school, like my minor is in Black Studies. Like I wanted to major in it, but we don't have a major in Black Studies. So I had to have a degree in sociology, and my minor is in both business administration and Black Studies. You know, that's the route that I had to take, given, you know, the hand that I was dealt, right? So for me, here's to give you a sense. So it goes back to the risk reward, right? Because here's my example. So someone said, you don't talk shit about Dana White. Dana White's a Trump supporter, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, but here I draw my line. It's all about the risk reward. So the way I look at Dana White, and this is prior to him slapping the shit out of his wife. Prior to that, yes, I understand the types of people who are going to support Trump. Going back to my beef with Pat Miletich, I can have conversations with conservatives or even at the time, people who are MAGA, because I understood that their foundation is about like their well-being, and a lot of times white people well-being is all about money. Like that's all. Look, protect my money, right? So Ed Soares, he voted for. He's Brazilian. He's like a white Brazilian. He voted, and he's real quiet about it. But he voted for Donald Trump because it was a money thing. Like I've been to this dude's house, and he fucking lives in the rich part of town and fucking in some hills in California. So I fully understand why I don't. If I'm being honest with you, when you got that kind of money, that shit don't matter. You just kind of like, I fuck with him because he's speaking my language. But in the grand scheme of things, none of that shit matters because everybody gonna protect you one way or the other, right? But in a moment, people are like, you don't talk shit about Dana White, he supports Trump. I'm like, well, that's true, but he's not like Dana White is not out here like Dana White isn't doing what Kobe Covington's doing. There's going to be a difference, right? So I have to decide.
Well, I know enough history. The problem with trying to make that comparison is Donald Trump was giving Dana White a platform when nobody else was, when John McCain was still calling UFC cockfighting.
People can't see me pointing.
So you have to give that the context of like, of course Dana White's they're friends for 30 years.
Right.
So you can't act like that's the same thing as Colby Covington coming in, not meeting the dude, being MAGA. It's not the same thing. I'm not a Kobe fan. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but people look at it in that respect. Like, there's somebody, again, a lot of I'm not just the person who isn't smart enough to just give a basis of, or just a random opinion off the immediate visual. Like, no, I know how to do a little bit more. I know how to go under the surface a little bit to form a more appropriate and more conscious based decision here and opinion. I'm not just like Kobe and Dana are the same thing. They're not. They're not. And so for me, I know how to distinguish that because for me, I have to pick those battles. I can get on here and say everybody like no matter what. You are a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. I can just lump everybody together. Or I can be tactful. I can be specific. I can go after the politician. Again, I have a platform for that. My platform isn't just to go, and this is what the Nazis do. They got like 23, they got like 3 followers or 20 followers. They got like these low, because they're just trolling their body counts, right? They can, if I say some anti-Nazi shit, they can send the bots after me, and they can and they can harass me, right? But from my perspective, I can't do that. That doesn't make sense for me to do that. So I can be tactful. So to the point of like who I'm pressing send, it has to make sense for me to press send. I have to know that this isn't going to necessarily come back to bite me in the end. So again, if I send some shit to Kobe about being MAGA, it's not going to be the same thing I sent to Dana about being MAGA, right? So that's how I decide and how I'm going to attack these people.
That's a great answer. And I'll it's not the exact same thing, but it explains a lot in terms of I don't see you say certain things, like certain slogans sometimes I feel like are CIA plants in our community to get people distracted in terms of like doing stupid shit that will actually get them in trouble.
Right.
Like inherently as a black man, I know most cops are fucked up, but I have a black cousin who actually happens to be a former police officer. And when he was a police officer, I had to reconcile. Of course not. I'm not going to call my cousin a bastard. So the notion of like all cops are bastards, sometimes I feel like shit like that is like a plant to make it more difficult to actually undermine those structures. So getting back to Colby Covington, when I saw him initially as a MMA fan, I thought at first, oh, he's playing heel. I don't think he actually believes this. He's like the Rush Limbaugh and Coulter. I'm going to play MAGA for grift and get them on my side. But after a while, it doesn't actually matter because they're riling up that side. So after a while, the shit stops being funny. He gets his jaw broken by Kamaru. He stops kind of doing that shit as much. He still kind of brings it back. How much do people like Colby to you actually have an effect when MMA is still kind of niche, or is it like, is he kind of harmless? Because I'm like,
no, he's not harmless.
Okay,
no, not 100%. He's not harmless at all. Here's the thing about even that play, right? So you take this white guy and whatever his experiences are in life. He's in this sport, and he's not getting the recognition that he feels that he deserves. Given the time, he's one of these, what's them dude bros? That's what we call them, dude bros. You can see, like, if you take the MAGA away and you just look at him in the context of what he's doing. He's on a boat with like some ugly chicks who he's calling like sluts and hoes or whatever.
Obviously paid to be there. Obviously paid
to be there, right? But that's his thing, right? That's his gimmick. He's doing all this. Again, this is just take the MAGA out and just that type of gimmick, right? It tells you the type of person that he is, right? So now you put the MAGA layer on top of that. Because this is the gimmick he's trying to go. That's him. But what happened was he was like, how can I create this gimmick that is going to get people to like? Because again, he didn't do a pro-black gimmick. That in itself could have got some. Imagine Kobe coming.
Oh fuck yeah, that would have been just as attractive.
No, just
if anything, not more.
Right? Oh my God, it would have been so. Oh, that would have been amazing if he would have done that, right? But you take that type of gimmick and you live it. This isn't pro wrestling. This is real life. So when you decide to take that gimmick in real life, that is you in real life. People like to say, oh, well, Kobe can, like, when he gets home, he probably turns it off. He probably isn't MAGA like that when he's at home. But that's not really him anymore. The him is the person that we see on character, in character in front of the camera. That's who Kobe is. Because that's all it is this idea of this persona that you put out and that you perpetuate to people. So if you have, it's kind of like like the tree falls, if it make a sound, did it really make a sound? It did make it. Like, did we hear the sound? No. But yes, it made a sound. A fucking tree fell. It don't matter if anybody saw it or not. The tree fucking fell, so it made a sound.
Yeah, the laws of physics exist whether or not they are observed.
Exactly. First of all, physics is my favorite science, by the way. That's always been my favorite science. I've been a math guy. So that's why I use that analogy. Yeah, it's like the fucking tree still makes a sound. So when Kobe goes and he's like, when Kobe isn't going full MAGA, is that that's the no. That's him. And I told people, I was like, yo, there's no coming back from that. Like, once he did that, and that's him forever. Now, maybe he's okay with it. I feel he's okay with that, just given the landscape of where life is right now. But, like, that's the play. So to the point when you have someone who's now an interim champion, who has his platform in this crazy industry that we're in, yeah, like, that's going to make – because these people are also part of regular society too. They're fans. They're fans of this sport, but then they're going to embed themselves in a regular society. For me and Jake, like, the issue I have is, or not issue I have is that Jake isn't that person because he is in MMA. So Jake isn't going to branch out into regular society. He's in his society, but the fans, they're gonna be bitten by this MAGA bug. It's gonna infect them. And then that shit's going to definitely spread into people who, remember I said I train with people from homeless to fucking doctors and lawyers and everywhere in between. That person who's a fan, whether they train or not, they're going to interact with people who are in regular society and going to infect them because people in general are gullible as fuck. People in society are, because life is life is heavy. Life in itself is going to weigh you down. It's going to put these problems on you. So people aren't trying to people can't, like, if you got life issues, you can't think like me because you don't have the bandwidth to think like me. I get to think like this because I just get to live my life and have fun. But if you got to like worry about your bills, they may repo your car, you may lose your job, how I'm going to get to, like, if you got all this shit to worry about, you're not worried about some Nazis saying some mean shit online. You're not even online because you ain't got time to. But that same person who's all his life, and then they see Kobe Covington say some crazy shit, they don't have the bandwidth to go check out if he's telling the truth or not. They just believe it. They don't check. They don't fight pushback. There's no pushback. So that's why people are so easy to be manipulated to believe that anti-white is a real thing. And the reason I say that is because it's all about people's experiences. So if people have never in life met a black person, right? But the only thing they see about black people is like what they see on TV, that they don't have the ability to check that. They just don't believe because they got so much other shit going on. Hey, the media, the TV told me they fucking black people are this, I'm gonna believe it. Kobe coming, I was watching the fights and saw Kobe say some shit about black people, I believe it. Because they don't have any way to check it, to the point of Jake Shields. People follow and believe Jake Shields. They don't have time to go check and see if Jake Shields is a piece of shit. Because they a fan of it. Why? I'm a fan of Jake Shields. Why would I? I've never been. I'll be honest. I'm a fan of people, but like fighters, I rarely go and check like what they do in their personal life. I have no idea. But I found out through this MAGA shit, through the Jake Shields shit, I know a lot of piece of shit people. I know a lot of people. Man, and I'm going to call him out real quick. He goes in that Dewey Cooper fucking bag. Terrence McKinney.
Bro, dude. I'm so glad you did. I wasn't going to try to call him out, but I'm so glad you did. Oh, my God. Let's talk about him for a second.
Right.
Let's talk about him for a second.
And this was, the funny thing about it, he was in Houston maybe like a couple weeks prior. No. He was in Houston a few weeks before my fight. So this was in December. So let's say I saw him like 2 months prior. We got a picture together. I posted this shit with it. And then this motherfucker. And then I get it. It's Jake Shields. He's good at what he does. And you want to learn from – you're in the thing that he's really good at what he does, right? So you want to learn some shit. I get it. But for me, I know how to draw a line. I can respect myself. But let's take Terrence. Even in that moment, if I were Terrence, what I would have done. I probably still going to go train with Jake Shields and all that. But there's no way in fucking life am I going to take a picture with Jake and allow him to use it for his benefit. I'm not going to take a picture and post on my social media. First of all,
he's a pick me. He's a pick me.
Wait. This is the first time I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it right now. He led with, oh man, Jake, I've always wanted to train with you. We've been missing each other, and our schedules finally synced.
First off, that's a lie because nobody's always wanted to train with Jake Shields. If you want to train wrestling, Jake Shields is not the first person you think of, so that's a fucking lie.
But 100%, right? But let's just say that was true. Let's just say, for story purposes, that part is 100% factual. So what you're telling me is you don't fucking know Jake Shields. You're telling me that you don't know him personally to get a good idea of what he is outside of fucking fighting. That's what that's what that sentence tells me. And then you follow it with, or I don't know, he led with whatever. Jake's no Nazi. He's no racist. Blah, 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 blah. Wait. You just said you don't really know him. You've been trying to get together. Y'all been missing each other. And then in the following, you're going to tell me you know him outside of fighting? No. So then you allow this person to use you. And that's why I really, because he unfollowed me on Twitter and then he posted a picture. And I'm like, bro, that's really disgusting. Like, because one, you didn't have to do that, but because you did, now you lump yourself over here. So I equate a Terrence McKinney to like a Candace Owens.
Yeah,
And
he is. No different. Him and Aljamain. It's a few people in terms of like they are perfectly willing to throw Black Americans under the bus for Dana's approval. And there's I'm not gonna go through the list, but there's a bunch of people in the UFC that are like that. And the reason I appreciate you in terms
I think it was Bobby Green. I think
Bobby Green too.
Now I don't know the Aljamain story. Because from what I know, he and I mean, I'm cool with him.
Maybe he's not as bad, but it was like it was right around when Black Lives Matter. It's like there were a few people who, when Black Lives Matter first came out, they were like not wanting to like. I understand because I never actually support Black Lives Matter was always like, to me, Occupy Wall Street. It always felt like a CIA op. I believe Black Lives Matter, but I'm never gonna go to one of their like functions because it always felt like an op to me. So I'm like, it's not that you have to support it openly, but don't come out against it because that's
right.
That's a whole different thing.
Problem. That's my problem. Is like you don't have to say anything.
It doesn't. Black Lives Matter doesn't seem like a national entity. It seems like a bunch of regional groups, very bifurcated. It doesn't seem to have one. Like our local Black Lives Matter is very different from what I see on TV.
That's the main problem is they were ran by grifters. So the head of the actual National Black Lives Matter were grifters. So then that makes the entire movement look bad, which is why you can't hitch to it. But you also can't come out against it.
Yeah. So for me, my connection to the Black Lives Matter has never been toward the organization. And the reason it hasn't been toward the organization is because people are fucking flawed. And you're to the point, we get grifters and scammers everywhere, right? So it was always about the actual phrase and the slogan, Black Lives Matter. And so to the point, like I got Pat Militant's DMing me, his drunk ass, like fucking 1 a.m. Bro, you're a Marxist, you're a racist, you're Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, first of all, I don't fuck with the organization. That has never been my connection or ties to this. It's literally been about the fucking phrase Black Lives Matter. That's literally it. And so even like that, white people, the fucking Nazi white people have hijacked that. You know, so that I had to. So for me, it's all about language. And I tell people all the time, language is so important. Because you have these fucking Republicans and conservatives, they say some wild fucking shit, but it makes sense, and then they support it. And I'm like, yo, and then you got so my comparison is like the fucking Republicans come over here and slap the dog shit out of a Democrat, and then the Democrat responds like, please don't slap us. And then the Republican look at him again, like, all right, we won't slap you, and smack him again. And I'm like, yo. That's the play that they're making. You like within the game, right? Because again, it's all about the game that you're playing. The game that we're in right now is this fucking the two-party system, right? You have to play within the confines of the rule set. So for them, the Republicans are they fucking out here playing. They bare knuckle fight. They just out here. They fucking just running around smacking people in the face. And then the Democrats is like, can y'all please don't do that? Like we got rules. And then they like, yeah, we do have rules, our rules. And they smack them again. And it's like, you are trying to play this game with your own rule set. And it's not the game's rule. Like you took a game and made your own rules. And you're like, all right, we're going to play like this. And they're like, wait, that's not the rules. The rules is this. And they're like, we know that, but those just a little too, they not nice. So we're going to play with these because these are a little bit nicer. And you can't do that. If you're in a war and people are shooting at you, you can't be like, hey, stop shooting at us. They're going to be like, all right, we're going to stop shooting. They're going to wait for you to pop your head up and they're going to shoot you in your face. That's what I'm saying. It's like messaging is so important to the point for me. I remember growing up and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? Racism can go away. We just need these old ass white people to die off so they can stop teaching their kids about racism. I was probably like 13, 12. I got to like 17, 18. I was like, wait. This is not that. This is not how that's going to work. So when you grow up and the whole thing is like, you know, people are, I'm definitely more Malcolm than Martin, right? And I know they're in that, even that they've been used to divide each other, but they both had their hands in, they had, everybody in this thing has a role to play. So for me in this thing, I'm not comfortable being the nonviolent person. I'm not comfortable with saying, hey, can you please stop smacking the shit out of me? No, my play is like, I'm going to ask you, hey, stop. Look,
even
man,
that has been co-opted in terms of it wasn't meant to be nonviolence without inaction. That white people have watered it down. Now they got Republicans quoting the content of the character, the only fucking thing they know about an avid socialist, anti-capitalist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then his whole daughter, well, I don't know about it. I think his son's on there too. His whole daughter's on Twitter. So people will use him and not actually let his daughter speak on behalf instead
which is crazy.
That's fucking crazy to me.
But that's the white fragility that I speak about. That in itself, right? It's like, yo, you can't speak for, like, to the point, it's like, yo, if you want to know something, you gotta sit and listen, you gotta ask questions. But they're trying to project their white fragility on it. Like, yo, you can't, like, we're not gonna do that. So to the point of me, right, and I get it all the time. People, they're on my DMs all the time. Like, bro, like, why are you like this? I've gotten word from like execs in the UFC, and they're all confused. They were like, why does he have black power? Why is he so pro-black? Except he grew up around white people. He comes from privileged background, blah, blah, blah. I'm still black, bro. And I chose to stand with my people. I'm not cool, and I'm not okay for just watching these motherfuckers come around and smack us and be like, yeah, you need to be cool with this smacking. No, I'm not okay with that. So to the point for me, I'm the way that I am. And I get people, why do you talk to people that way? It's because like I'm not doing that old shit no more. Like things have to evolve, man. And over the pandemic, I had a lot of conversations. I had conversations with a nun who was a fucking Candace Owens supporter. I had to set her straight. I had conversations with business owners, but one in particular, man, it was on the insurrection day. I was posting a bunch of shit, and I remember getting a DM, and it was from a white guy, and he was like, "Man, I get it. I understand now why you speak the way that you speak to people. These people are over here planning a coup on the government. Why would I be nice to people who are trying to overthrow the government? The white people set the laws. The laws was death for treason. Y'all set the laws, not us. So y'all saying death to treason, and then my whole response to treason is I just say some mean things to them. Like, what? But that's the play. Like, it's really fucking crazy to me, man. But their whole play is to gentrify oppression, to the point what their play is, gentrify oppression. That's their play right now. Which is it's so crazy.
Yeah, that's so the you're not allowed to say those things. Only we can say those things. That's such
to the point, man. Why I am the way I am. Man.
Yeah,
it's just like y'all don't get to walk around and say the things y'all get to say. And that's why I was so mad about the Jake Shield shit. There are two reasons I didn't do it. I didn't like fight him that day. Is one was that I just had surgery that the UFC paid for, and I was in the UFC's building. As I was just like, bro, because all I can think about, if I hit him, it's gonna be a fight, and in a fight, anything can happen. So I was like, my whole time I was like, don't hit him. Then after the motherfucker spit on me and I was about to spill off, I spits and I'm like, shit, and I do like this, and it's like 6 of his boys just looking. And I say, if I still off on him, these motherfuckers gonna jump me. Because it's like, at this point, I'm like,
now they got a reason.
It's because they got a reason. I'm like, it's a gang at this point. I'm like, so they got a reason. So I'm like, all right, don't do it. But even to the point when all this shit, it was all sneak attack. He never did anything on the up and up, right? So to my point of like the rules of engagement, that's why he's a fucking piece of shit. And I can't wait. I'm going to beat the dog shit out of Jake Shield. Because he already said, he's like, all right, like, I'll box you. Like, we can box. Yes, that's all I need to hear. But he grabbed me from, the takedown was from behind. He pulls me down, right? And so when I'm on the ground, like before the video starts, I have like his head and I have an overhook. And I kind of was just like, hey guys, like, can y'all get this dude off me? Because I'm like, all right, like, this is past the point of like what we're doing here, right? You tried to hit me, you spit on me, you did all these things, but now like you grabbed me from behind and took me down. So I'm like, all right, someone, and I'm looking up like, hey, and they all just looking down like. So I'm like, hey, like, can y'all stop looking and get him up? Like, what are we doing here? So then that's when the video starts. By this time, I've already been down here like 30 seconds asking politely, hey guys, can y'all get this motherfucker off me? And then I look, and so when the video starts, it's like, yo, somebody get this motherfucker off me. Because I've been asking politely, and y'all just been fucking doing this shit. And I'm like, all right, y'all some hoes.
Well,
that's all I
could
can think about. Y'all some
I could tell by the crowd that he had clearly picked the color of the people that he was going to bring to confront you in terms of like the optics. So this was clearly like he had some optics planned. And when the video cuts on, it's like the way it happens, like, oh, this is staged in terms of he's trying to stage this thing, which is why you can't fight back, because anytime like he properly staged it, not only is he going to not be looking racist because he brought his pick-me non-white friends to support that he's not racist, then it only cuts on once there's like no way to prove how it started. So I knew working in production, I'm like, oh, this is a stage thing that Jake thought he was going to do his little production and then put it on social media, get out ahead of it, and then sue you. I know he was going to try to sue you.
Oh, here's the thing. I know for a fact, because I'm suing him, by the way. He already's planning to countersue me. He was planning to sue you from before that shit even started. Because I can tell by the way it was staged that he, like I said, he brought his little cronies, his little non-white cronies, to prove to the court that he's not racist. He's got a black friend. He's got a Muslim and a friend. So I could see, again, this is where my experience as a black person, I could see those things. Right. It's yeah, like I said, it was the whole thing. I was just like, it was really weird. Like, so to the point, like even then, like when he was on the ground, the reason I had to cover up the way I covered up, I just had surgery, and they're like, oh, you don't know how to get it. I was like, look, any type of escape that I would have tried would have left my face open. It don't matter what type of escape I would have tried, my face would have been left open, and he was throwing punches and elbows. So it was like, yeah, I may get up, but at least one of those punches and elbows is going to land when I'm getting up. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay right here. I'm going to take this right quick because I don't need this motherfucker to hit me in my face. And then again, I was like, it's a group of people. Someone's going to...
Man, it never occurred to me to say I'm not racist, I have white friends, because it seems like the whole I'm not racist, I have a black friend thing seems such a bullshit thing. Like, I just have friends. And it doesn't ever really occur to me to be like, oh yeah, my friend Chris who is black. That's just not how it works. Like
well, but
we are living in weird time. We are living in some weird. I've been telling like the past since the Jake Show shit happened, it's just been weird. And then you follow up with the Dana White slapping his wife, and then the people who are supporting, like even black people supporting that. I'm
Jamal Hill. Jamal
Wait,
Hill.
well,
I was so disappointed.
no. Wait, let
He
me
not?
clarify. Let me clarify, because I saw that. I saw
Oh,
his
please
comment.
do, because I wanted to support him when that shit happened. I was like, oh,
So here's I remember I heard my first. Let me see. Everything happened, and all I saw was Jamal Hill supports Dana White, and I was like, wait, what? But I heard it like secondhand.
Third hand, that's all I saw too, because I think by the time my
If you
check was
go back
deleted.
and watch no. So if you go back and read what he said, it was not in support. It was something like, remember, context matters, right?
Yes.
The gist of the tweet was, if she didn't want to get hit, she shouldn't have hit him. It was never like, oh my God. It was never anything supporting Dana White. It was the tweet was the gist of, if she didn't want to get hit, she shouldn't have hit him. But here's the context. We have to remember Jamal Hill is from Detroit, right? So if we're talking about someone who's from the hood, Detroit particularly, the whole thing is, hey man, look, keep your hands to yourself. If this isn't a white person who lives in fucking the suburbs in some mansion. So again, what we should talk about is, should he have said anything or not? That's all. His tweet was.
He didn't have to say anything. Is he got misconstrued because he said something. Period.
So to the point. If you don't want, like, he didn't have to say that. So in that position, because he said something, they're going to use it, and they misconstrued it, and they did that to him. So for him, I just wish he wouldn't have said that. But even what he said, he didn't support Dana White.
That makes makes me feel better. Thank you.
Me too. Because I was like, wait, why would he say that? And so I was like, let me see what he said. And I read what he said. I was like, and so here's what happened. You're gonna get white people, the liberal or those types of white people, the progressive white people, who have their own type of fucking racism.
Progressive in appearance only.
Only appearance only. So the progressive white people was like, they see the tweet, and he was like, hey, if you don't want to get hit, you shouldn't hit nobody. That was literally all the tweet was. If you don't want to get hit, don't hit nobody. It wasn't hitting a woman, hitting a man. It was none of that, right? So the progressive white people going to say, oh my God, he supported Dana White, because, like, if his wife wouldn't have hit him, Dana White wouldn't have hit her. And so and it's like, nah, y'all can't do that. You can't do that. And it's white people who fucking do that.
Man, I've never heard of progressive in name only either. Pino is fucking great. Oh, that's fantastic. That's better than Rhino or Dino. Pino is like, that's just like fucking Pinos.
Fucking Pinos, bro. But yeah, man, like that. But to the point why language is so important and what you put out is so important, people will hijack that shit really quick. And that shit is so, like, that's some of the nastiest shit to me, is when, like, the people who hijack things that's clearly not about them, but then they make it about them. It's so nasty to me, man. Like, the people who try to gentrify oppression, that's some of the worst shit for me. Like, I like, just be David Duke, dude. I can respect David Duke because he owns it. I respect him from the point of owning his shit. He's not to the point here. Out of all the shit that happened, I respect Jake Shields from his thug perspective, because he told me, he said, when I see you, it's on site. And I kind of just look like, whatever. Because again, on site is a term that you're gonna use for the streets.
He actually used it right.
He used it right. I give it to him. But my whole thing is like, even in that moment, it's like, I get it's on site, but at what point do you, like, you check your surroundings? All right, it's on site, but damn, maybe I shouldn't be on site at the fucking PI where there are cameras everywhere. But
see,
he said, like I said, I respect it.
I respect him because he said his striking is too shit to do anything, so that's why he took you down. So he at least acknowledged that. But we're running up on a minute left. Do you have anything to promote?
First of all, he took me down from behind, and he does have shoes, because he tried to, like, when I still have my gloves on, he was trying to punch, and I, like, parried his punch. I was like, this is really trash. So yeah, he does really have shooting striking, and he's a trash person for taking me down from behind. All of his attacks from behind, even his people from behind. But man, follow me on the Instagram at Shits and Giggles brand because my other page got banned for cooking the white nationalist. You can follow me on the Truth Jackson, and I got this new thing where I'm going around beating up Nazis. That's gonna be my new thing, and I got a fight coming up with a fucking Nazi. So stay tuned for the drop.
Nazi beatdown coming soon with the truth. Thank you, sir, for coming on our show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
Exceptional Randos shows produced live in Sunroom Studios' Base Capsule. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Well, that was random. Exceptional Radio.